Thank you for joining me as TMI Tuesday edition, and I'm Philip Omo Gupon. Well, straight we're looking at the topic which is on the impeachment of the Deputy Speaker. The Edo State House of Assembly was in pandemonium yesterday over this. And discussing this with me, starting from my extreme left, as I have area of distinguished personalities, is the public affairs analyst, Osage Godsent Erunse. Many thanks for coming, Osage. And of course, I have a constitutional lawyer, Notary Public of Nigeria, erudite and articulate. It's no one else but Adams Aliyu. Many thanks for coming, Adams.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you, presenter.
And of course, I have a new face with me, and he is a public affairs analyst, and he is Salvation Unknown Robber. Many thanks for coming, Salvation.
Good morning, viewers.
Well, I start with a constitutional lawyer, Notary Public of Nigeria, Adams. What transpired yesterday in the State House of Assembly, the impeachment of the Deputy Speaker, Victor Tiger Edoro. Will you call that beauty of democracy?
Oh, well, it's a constitutional matter. Part 2, Section 92, subsection 1, provides in this constitution that there shall be a speaker and a deputy speaker. And 92 sub 2 further provides that this speaker and deputy speaker will be elected from amongst the members. So assuming that was done, that is how they came into office. It is section 92 sub 1A now provides for the removal. To be removed as a speaker or deputy speaker, you must have lost election in your constituency. I mean, you are no more elected honorable member. That is one. Second one, if you are removed by a petition signed by 2/3 of the members, and in the constitution we are entitled to 24 members. Ipso facto, you needed 16. Then the mover of the motion raised up a paper saying that they have a petition duly signed by 16 members calling for the removal of the deputy speaker on the ground of allegation of corruption and unruly behavior. He did not go further to read the names of the signatories to the petition. So then the person impeached now exploited that lacuna to say that the number of people that signed it were not up to 16, that they were only 4 or 5 and also etc. Because he did not read it out to say James, Lee, Peter. He didn't read the names out.
Which is supposed to be?
They use voice votes, and voice votes could be deceitful. The same people who say aye.
But is the constitution silent about
the constitution is silent on the modus operandi of that sort of vote taking. So when all half of the people will say aye, the same half of the people will say nay again. So you cannot really use it as a parameter to determine. But the hammer, the gavel went by the speaker, and so it is. But he is taking refuge that the names are not disclosed and that the real number will not be up to 16. Although he went ultra vires.
But does he have a case on that?
Yes, he went ultra vires by going to take the mace. The mace is the symbol of authority, the enabling authority that enables parliament to say. That one is unruly. Then
does it attract penalty?
Yes, and that is what tantamounted to suspension with his 2 acolytes. They are suspended for 3 months. This is not the first time there are precedents that people have been suspended from the house. But the bona fide position as elected member, you cannot suspend him. It is only the constituency that can start a recall, which is very cumbersome. Many times they try to recall Melaye, they were not able, because Nigerians are lackadaisical. If you tell all the people who voted for someone to come and line up to get them to vote again to recall him, they will not bother. They will say, okay, he's ready there, let us wait for the next time. So he overreacted by seizing the mace, and he assumed that the number is not up to But since the gavel has gone, there's nothing he can do. He stands suspended.
Okay, but you may mention the fact that the constitution is silent.
It's silent on the
about
moment,
the
whether
modus
it's
operandi.
releasing secrets or open people, those 16 members, but if they were really having 16 members, for the avoidance of doubt and ease of reference, you should have read out the 16 names.
Okay, but wouldn't it be also fair enough for these names to be seen
Kept
or
secret.
read out?
No, if you come to equity, you come with open hands. You don't do it incognito. If they were convinced that the deputy speaker has acted or traversed, is corrupt, is unruly, they should stand day and night to stand by their petition. The name should not be kept in secret.
Okay. Also, Gossent, looking at what the impeached deputy speaker said, he made it clear that, well, that number is not enough. He cited 6, and that he still remains the deputy speaker, and he's resuming that position again today. What do you make of this?
Anyway, like our veteran lawyer said, you can't fight the constitution. The only thing that is needed now is those other parties that claim that they had the constitutional numbers to produce their numbers, the signature and the names of the honorable members of the House that actually sign its impeachment. Otherwise, he's going to have a point. Okay, because you can't fight. It's a constitutional provision.
Otherwise, he's going to have a point.
Yes, he's going to have
Where
a
would
point.
that point be established? In the court?
In the court, of course. I mean, he's a Nigerian, so he has the right to seek redress at the court of law. You know, but the point is that we have to, you know, try as much as possible to realize that legislative business do not become such that people lost confidence in. Because the legislature is an arm of government that is strictly rule and govern with the constitution. I mean, everything they do has to align with the constitution because they are saddled with the responsibility of making laws. Okay, so the society expect them to lead by examples. Like our lawyer have said, those names, maybe they have other procedure through which they can make the public know that, okay, these are the names and this is the honorable member that signed. Voice assertment or consentment to the impeachment is not enough because that is going to further deepen the crisis.
It's not enough, but they like what the constitutional lawyer said. The constitution is silent about that.
But two interpretations could be given to it. You know, the other party can say it was the maid that have it. You know, not really, how do you not prove that in the court of law? You know, so I think we should begin to realize that legislative business is serious business. And where we have to toe any particular line of action, we should be as clear as possible. You know, but beside the incident of yesterday, you know, if you look at the history of the EDHA House of Assembly, you notice that it's been on for a while. There's been this leadership tussle. This same honorable member.
Yes, he was speaker.
Was the speaker at the time, before he became deputy speaker. And now he's finally out of the game. And my worry is that when issues like this comes up, one of the first things you see is there is always an indictment on corruption. Okay, on ruling behavior, you know, and what have you, misappropriation of funds,
high-handedness,
and what have you. Okay, and that's the reason why I think one of the things we should look at in this country is trying to have a provision of the law. I mean, our lawyer is here, you know, I know he's going to enlighten us on that, that can pick up these things. If an honorable member is indicted, is there any constitutional provision for petition and possibly, because we've seen even House of Representatives and Senate members being called upon by AFCC, you know, being called upon by, you know, ICPC and all of that. But what I'm saying in essence is that it is about time we begin to go away from impeachment that has to do with, that makes the general public suspect that maybe it's just an indictment. There's always like a frame-up. Okay, I'm not saying this particular case may be a frame-up, but I'm always trying to say that it's a repetition of the same allegation. Anytime there is an impeachment saga in the House of Assembly, it's always misappropriation, it's always unruly behavior, it's always this, and that calls for a lot of question from public observers like us, you know, because which do we really take home? Which is right? Okay, we have an arm that is supposed to deal with these issues. Okay, we expect the EFCC to move into action, invite the honorable member. If those allegations are substantial, then it should be followed up with a petition to the EFCC. Then beside that, let me also say that another thing that really didn't go down with me yesterday is the fact that why do we always celebrate Togri? Okay, you know, it was on news and it was everywhere. You know, the speaker, like he said, is on news. I saw it on news. His own talk faction came, you know, trying to make sure they are ready to unleash harm on anybody that tries to go. And I'm sure that
about the security agents really
they were there.
Brought calm to the situation.
We are celebrating Togri in a democratic society. If that can be, you know, I saw a scene where there were a group of these guys hailing the honorable speaker, you know, and that keep on happening again.
What you call Togri could be like a personal aid.
But they were gunshots. I have heard it. They were gunshots.
I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that.
How do we place that?
Yes. Let's take your bite, Salvation on number there, because there's this impression that generated by the public that, well, all of this fight torso for leadership in the Edo State House of Assembly, as history would have it, where a lot of persons are having this impression that, well, is it for the betterment of adequate representation or for parochial interest?
Thank you very much. I must say that first and foremost, we accept that the impeachment is agreed upon, is accepted by the Constitution. It's a constitutional act. Impeachment in the Constitution is put there to work on the principles of check and balance. Yeah. It's an advantage because it's what we use to check bad leadership. So it's a good thing. But impeachment is like a gun. A gun, it depends on who is holding the gun. The gun in the hand of an armed robber brings fear. And the gun in the hand of a policeman brings, you are confident about it. Therefore, the impeachment, what we want to be sure of is this. Like you said, is it for the betterment of the people?
Yes.
If I want to take you down memory lane a bit, between 2016 and today, Edo State has changed about three speakers have been impeached. In May 2016, a speaker was impeached. The same 2016, in June, another speaker was changed. Last year, August, we saw WrestleMania.
Doesn't that make a beauty of democracy?
There was WrestleMania
right.
to bring in this our present speaker, where we saw honorables being, we didn't know they were that skilled.
Being seen in a different way.
We didn't know how skilled they were. I was seeing John Cena and all that.
All right.
And now we are asking this, because the fear of impeachment is this. We are scared. Why are you always changing your leaders? Is it that you don't pick them well? Why are you changing them? Less than a year, you're already changing the leader. Before they pick their new speakers and their deputies, is it that they don't wash their characters? Why are we always changing them in less than a year?
Can you easily determine by observing people? Is it not when they hold mantle of leadership, you now determine who they really are?
I think you don't need to wait until they hold leadership. You can know what somebody will do for what he has been doing. We can look at your character. We've been seeing you in this house. How has this person been? Is it only Edo State that every time we are always changing? So why the constant change? And the fear we have, sir, we want to be sure that there are no external influences to the House of Assembly.
Okay.
Because the external influences is what many times such impeachment, when we are sure that the executive, that the motion, the motive for the impeachment is not political. It's not like somebody is trying to put his boy there. Because sometimes when we are close to election, you see impeachment coming in. Sometimes at those times, those impeachment is not for the people. Probably is for political calculations and all that.
Okay. Which makes it parochial.
So we want to be sure, this impeachment you are impeaching them, is it because they didn't rule well? Or is it because somebody doesn't like them? Is somebody trying to put his boy somewhere? Or are we going to have people? Are we trying to, now, is impeachment, is it consequence for bad leadership? Or is it to please a godfather somewhere? That's what Edolites, we want to understand. The constant, is it that they are not ruling well? Because the good, what we want to be sure of.
So for now it's shady.
It's
for
shady.
now it's not clear.
It's too frequent.
And we need to see it clear.
We want to be clear about it. We want to be sure that you have our interest in heart. That's why you are changing the leaders.
Thank you. Adam Zaliu, back to you. There's this aspect where some are saying that, well, for you to say that the impeached deputy speaker was impeached for corruption, I want to pick that first. For corruption, shouldn't that be substantiated? Because the aspect where the deputy speaker was even saying that he does not handle resources, and so how come they are saying he's been charged for corruption on that? What do you make of this?
The word corruption has now worn a gargantuan big gambit. It's an omnibus word used at random.
At random?
Yes. When people did their primaries, we were told of corruption. I have said as a constitutional lawyer, if you are sure that people were corrupt during the primary, during the election, come to court. Mention the name of the giver of the money.
So that it can be proven.
Yeah, mention the name of the receiver. Bring them to court. But when it reaches that stage, they will acquiesce. There will be lack of diligent prosecution. And the court cannot prosecute on hearsay. There must be documentary and monumental evidence. So the omnibus word that is being used, corrupt, the man impeached may not have been the accountant general of the House of Assembly. So those who are sure that he was corrupt, they should go to court. As my co-contributor said here too, if people are corrupt, they should petition them to EFCC. As far as the Constitution is concerned, only the presidents, vice presidents, governor, deputy governor, only these four people are immune from prosecution. They have immunity while they are in office. That is why somebody who was a governor last week, today now is in custody, because the immunity has elapsed. But when it comes to that, people will shy away. They will not come forward to say, I'm hereby petitioning against it for the corrupt. The alleged impeachment, as it were, the names are still shrouded in mystery. They are not open. That is why the person will call. When the matter goes to court, the judge will call for the names of the people. So you cannot approbate and reprobate. People are saying yes, and the same voice they are saying no. So that way, so many of these things are allegations which cannot be proved.
Okay, but the House being a legislative house, and which is an independent organ of government, seem to enjoy non-interference.
Maybe when you are sitting in the House, you have some privileges. Once you are outside the premises of the House of Assembly, you are susceptible to the law of this country. A membership of House of Assembly is not a magna carta. It's not a laissez-passer or pass to do anything. But when you are in the premises, well, you could get some immunity. But for the president, vice president, governor, deputy governor, whether at home or in the office, they cannot be taken to court. So people who make allegations, he who alleges must prove. They should ensure that they substantiate the allegation, petition to EFCC and ICPC. Meanwhile, it is only the unruly behavior, etc., that was visible for anybody to see. The other one of corruption, it needs to be quantified and corroborated.
Thank you. Back to you, Sergei Godsent. Looking at what we have here. Yes, because today, they are expected to also sit.
Okay.
Now,
there's a popular saying that...
What's your expectations? What is your agenda? Or what are you setting as an agenda for the House of Assembly?
I expect the crisis to linger on because it was not well digested yesterday. It was not well, it was not obvious, like our constitutional lawyer said. The names and the signature, the average Edolite are still waiting to hear them and to see them. So what I expect other honorable members to do is to let us see these names and the signatories to the impeachment. You know, if that is not done, the crisis is going to deepen. And the impeach or the supposed impeach and deputy speaker will likely take the House to court, you know, because they have to be proved. All right? We can say that we saw an unruly behavior or someone seizing the maze of the House, but that is not enough. We need to be sure that the corruption charges are real and that 16 honorable members actually signed it. Then again, I want to use this opportunity to also say that we have to be careful of the picture we show to the outside world about the democratic modus of operandi in the legislative arm of the government, especially in Edo State. Because over the years, there have been, if you go down memory lane, there was even a time legislation was done in government house, you know, because of fractional interest, you know, and there's a lot of speculation now that that tussle is still ongoing. You know, I was reading one of the newspaper report last night. You know, if that is true, you know, the Honorable Speaker said one person in Abuja cannot decide the fate of the populace.
One person in Abuja.
In Benin. So if that report is correct, you know, that shows us that a lot of things are going on beneath the carpet. You know, there was even an indictment while the proceeding was going on, according to a newspaper report, that the Honorable Speaker is by fully one of the honorable member that is also guilty of 100 million corruption allegation.
Yes, you know, like even so, what the reports have it, even over 600 million naira. So according to the impeached deputy speaker.
Fine. So where are we headed for? It's beyond the games we are seeing that is playing out. For me, this House of Assembly members are like actors that are acting a script. There is a tussle for supremacy, and it's not only in Edo State. It cuts across different states of this federation.
Okay, but could it be that there could be also an influence from the executive?
Of course, with the aspersions that we are seeing and with what some of the honorable members are saying. You know, I have always said that our legislative arm is not completely free of the executive influences, both at national and state level. And you can't hide that in this scenario. Because there are reports from some quarters, although yet to be verified, that some of the honorary members are aggrieved because of the last primary elections. You know, it is like a fight back. You know, there's a report from other quarters that there's a tussle between the national leader and the state government. You know, but we as citizens of this state, how does all of this crisis favor the cause of legislation? How does it affect our common well-being? You know, there's a lot of personal interest now because the election is by the corner. Somebody is trying to, and our politicians have to be careful of this structure thing. Because what is now reigning, for me, there have never been a time of godfatherism in politics in this nation that we are seeing now. Especially, there's a little drift from monetary godfatherism to structure godfatherism. Who owns the structure? That is the current fight in Zafara. That's the current fight in Port Harcourt. That is, you know, the speculations of the outcome of yesterday impeachment. You know, who owns the structure? So somebody somewhere is trying to control the structure, and that doesn't spell well for our baby democracy or our infant democracy, because at the end of the day, the business of the legislature is halted currently, and this fight is not over yet. I can assure you of that. It's going to linger on because apart from the impeached deputy speaker, another honorable speaker was also raining for brimstone yesterday and saying that it's laughable because of the suspension.
Yes, falling Ogedegbe.
Yes. So where are we headed for?
Represents Owan East.
Owan East. So we have to begin to revisit the operations of the rule of law, the respect of the tenets of democracy, even in our legislative arm.
All right. Thank you.
You know, and I think that is critical.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salvation, let's see how we can salvage this, like your name implies. You know, we look at this and some are already saying, well, with all of this, where does it dovetail towards? What is the expectation in terms of ensuring that we have, well, our internal democracy in that legislature is well protected. And some also say that, well, there seems to be abuse of powers of impeachment in the State House of Assembly in Nigeria. What do you have to say in all of this threat?
Okay, first, I really want to appeal to every aggrieved honorable member. I will really ask them, go to court. Let's not cause much trouble in the House. If you are not satisfied with what has happened, let the talks not come in and all that. Whoever is not satisfied should go to court.
Shouldn't resort to violence.
Yes, we need, they should go into the business of legislation.
We need peaceful legislation.
Yes, we need it. We don't need this tussle.
Yes.
We can't have effect, because they are supposed to be the check and balance of the executive and the judiciary. We want them to go into their job. We want them to do it, because this constant tussle is distracting their main duty. So that's what we're asking them to do. And at the end of it, I am asking the members who have been brought in, if the court allows them to stay and if they continue, they should help us. We want to, for the first time, see a speaker that stayed there for 4 years. We'll be happy. We want to see a deputy that stayed there for 4 years. We want to see them do their job. So we want peace. And finally, I want to beg the honorable members to be more honorable. They should be more honorable. Let them handle their duties. We don't want this toggery, carrying of maize, and no. The youths are looking at them. The youths are looking at them. So we need a peaceful place. Let's be more. They make the laws, so they should embody it. They should be examples to it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's look at the aspect, though you said finally, but I don't know if you don't want me to ask you another question.
No. On that note.
All right. Now, Adam Zaliu, let's look at the aspect of adequate representation, not just in membership, but in terms of issues that demands legislations. That seems to be lacking. What do you think about that?
You mean their
Yes,
basic
in terms of deliberations, in terms of talking about the betterment of the citizenry.
What they are struggling for.
Do you see that as...
It's suffering.
All right, it's suffering.
What their primary objective there is suffering.
Yeah.
Because the position of speaker, the position of deputy speaker, those positions are glamorous. We were told of a story before that once you are a speaker or deputy speaker, you are given a retinue of vehicles, a list of personal aids.
Really glamorous.
Very glamorous. Very enticing. And any member who has basically won election from his constituency thinks that he or she is a fit and proper person to be elected there, because you don't seek admission to a school to be admitted as a monitor or prefect.
Yes.
You seek admission like an ordinary student. It is when you have reached there that the circumstances also will make you monitor or prefect. So it ought not to be a do or die affair. But when people have seen the privileges attached thereto, they feel envious. That is why, as my earlier contributor said, every 6 months there must be change. And in order to dramatize this change, you have to be doing hurdles, throwing javelin, blowing mace, and it is recorded. It's not a good example for the youths at all.
Okay.
As honorable men whom they are, they should do their job with honor, and they should make laws. Let us know how many bills have been passed, how many motions have been presented, and what we are expected to. What now stops the younger ones, candidates in students' union government election, from breaking bottles and fighting and jumping up and down, or for council? They are higher than the council. So this unruly behavior to become leader should stop, and it should be reduced.
Okay. Before I come back to you as we round off on that, Osagie, let's look at the aspect of checks and balances. I loved it when the Salvation on Namroba made mention of it, and in my head I'm still trying to wrap ideas around it to see how checks and balances have been looking at the legislature in Edo State House of Assembly on the executive. Can you say that has been robust in this present leadership of the House of Assembly in Edo State?
I want to say that for me personally, I don't think that has been so much in place, because one of the things I want you to know is that in the average Nigeria setting, when the legislators are trying to go about their constitutional duty, there's a fight back from the executive. And when it seems like everywhere is calm, most scenario, it seems like they are not doing their constitutional duty. Now,
seems like they are rubber stamp.
Yes, it seems like they are rubber stamp. Now, I want to say this, that some of the crises...
so when we see, like what you guys portrayed, that picture, I'm still trying to take a close look at it.
It's everywhere.
When everywhere seems to be calm. It means
they are rubber stamp.
They are rubber stamp.
The day they wake up, that's what we've been seeing.
Do you expect it to be noisy?
Yes,
should it always be noisy to show that everything is working all right?
Sometimes.
Really?
It will not always be noisy, even in America. The president and the legislators are always at loggerheads. Sometimes, you know, they're always conflicting over issues.
Does that bring the beauty of democracy?
Yes, it does. Because
to be at loggerheads?
It brings the... Listen, I'm going to tell you, because we are talking about an arm of the government that is empowered to check and balance. They are the watchdog of the society. So, they are not rubber stamp. It is not everything the legislator is going to say, oh, let's pass it. That the executive are going to say, let's pass it. That the legislator are going to say, okay, it's okay. But there are some other times that there will be conflict of views. I agree that in the Nigeria setting, over time it has been it has escalated. Okay. You know, it has gone above board. Okay. All right. I concur to that. But you must always see this internal struggle within the legislative arm and the executive arm, because the beauty of democracy sometimes is seen in agreeing and disagreeing. We must not always agree along the same line. So when you see a legislative arm or House of Assembly that is always agreeing with the executive on every policy, on every decision, on every recommendation, passing every laws, you know, it calls for worry. Because what is now the meaning of the word? Thank God we have a veteran in the house that may help us to decipher the meaning of the word watchdog, check and balances. Okay, but these organs are supposed to be independent and equal. But some say, like what we've always battled it here, that well, the executive seem not to be equal.
Some are more equal
than others. Some are more equal than others, and that is the plain truth. Okay, so we want to say, for me, the Edo State House of Assembly, I've not been doing much about the watchdog thing or the check and balance thing. And so we need to see that. We need to see that. We need to see a pragmatic approach. I want to see a house that we say to the executive arm sometimes, no to this. We can't pass this. There is, just look at for the betterment of the people. For the betterment of the people, not personal interest. But a lot of times, what we see is that the legislature is like, you know, like what you call a toy to the executives, as far as you can settle like us. An apron string. Thank you. Okay, so but as far as you can settle us, anything that seems to be that seems to be your impression about it. Because see what impressions are brought about by what we see. Okay, we may not be able, this is not a courtroom anyway, but what we see and what we read every day on the newspaper shows that these things are not in place. When the obvious become obvious, then it leaves an impression. Okay, so what we are saying in essence is, for me, I want to call on the Edo State House of Assembly to be more constitutional in the discharge of their duties. We are not saying that they will always be fighting between the legislature and the executive. But what we are saying that we want to see that there is a serious business of check and balance. Yes, taking that oversight function. Yes, taking that oversight function. Okay, let's see. You know, like the judiciary is currently doing. I want to give it to the judiciary. Okay, we'll come there. Although they are not also free. We'll come there. Let's look at your viewpoint as we round off now over this aspect of robust checks and balances. Have you noticed that playing out in the State House of Assembly as relates to with the executive?
I must say that the Edo State House of Assembly in that area have really been behind. Because many times, if the executive was the one that sponsored the rising of the speaker, how do you want the speaker to question his oga?
Well, thank God you said if.
Yes. That is why their election is very important. The main reason why you always see any House of Assembly anywhere around around Nigeria where you see the external influence of the executive is because the executive does not want anybody that will question them.
Okay, but let me really, I'm trying to digest what you just said.
Yes.
Is it not really absurd for us to think that if someone is being appointed or being sponsored by someone, it means that he has to dance to the whims and caprices of that person? Is it not absurd? Because as long as you are, even if you have been sponsored by that person, you are not representing that person. You are representing the people. Shouldn't that be the mindset?
It should be, but the Nigeria we are now, that doesn't work. Your godfather has the capacity to remove you.
What makes it work?
At any time.
How do we make it work?
The only way to make it work is for us to merely make sure that our House of Assembly is independent. They must be very independent.
So as you say it's not
it's
really
not
independent.
really independent. We need the independence of the House of Assembly.
What organ is really independent?
I think the executive is very independent.
Correct. Thank you. So your final words on that?
Yes, well, it's a pity that sentiments always come into choosing positions. This very House of Assembly came in during controversy, because before now it was Governor Edo South, Deputy Edo North, Speaker Edo Central, or vice versa. But for the first time, Governor Edo South, Deputy Edo North, Speaker Edo North. So people even tried to say no, there is no proportional representation. They made hue and cry. But when we check the Constitution, it's not written anywhere that it has to be divided according to senatorial districts. And the people are to be chosen amongst themselves. Section 92, subsection 2, that Speaker, Deputy Speaker must be chosen from within themselves. So the man won election and is there, he's sitting with Deputy Speaker. And I'm sure after some time, he will come back. The very person they put as Deputy Speaker now was one Speaker.
Yeah, Justin Okonobo.
Yeah. So has it been. Almost everybody by this tenure would have tasted the position because of the glamour that goes with it.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think we've had much deliberations on this, except you have your reservations you want to keep, or okay. Let's leave that. Well, it's been awesome. In case you're just joining us, it's TMI Tuesday, and I'm Philip Omogupon. I've been having a chat with a very robust one at that, with an array of guests. I've been having a chat with Osage Godsent Erunse, and of course, an erudite and articulate constitutional lawyer, Notary Republic of Nigeria, Adam Saliu, and the public affairs analyst also with me, Salvation Unknown Roba. Many thanks for being with me. Well, we've been exploring the aspect of the impeachment of the Deputy Speaker. And the State House of Assembly yesterday was really in pandemonium, and we do expect that today it should be peaceful, and we do ensure that we do know that the state government definitely will be beefing up security around the House of Assembly complex in order to avert any violence that may want to be perpetrated by anyone in that respect. Well, also away from that, we'll be looking at the recent judgment by the Supreme Court, which was yesterday, that set aside the decision of the appeal court on the conduct of APC primaries in Rivers State. And being that as it is, there are issues arising from that, looking at what is on board in recent judgment of that. But well, back to you, constitutional lawyer.
Yes,
because you are the custodian of the law. And the Supreme Court has given judgment. I think that's final.
Yes, that is fine.
That puts to rest every...
When the Supreme Court gives judgment,
yes,
anybody she has an appeal to make, he will appeal to God. So,
but what's the implication of this on the party?
The implication is that in the Supreme Court, even the Court of Appeal, you don't call witnesses again in procedure. The jury will look at the matter, the papers, the evidence, the judgment of the lower court, as it were. Study it and give judgment. So, as good citizens, as practitioners of democracy, I will expect the parties involved to take the law as it has been interpreted. But it is gratefulness that they have exhausted all the chances available.
Yes.
Tribunal, Court of Appeal, up to Supreme Court. If you take it like that, Rome was not built in a day. There are still many other instances where the loser can win. We were just being told this morning that the president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, won for the seventh time. Seventh time at 85.
At 85.
Yesterday. And so even the president of this country, Buhari, contested for 16 years. He lost 3 times, won the 4th time every 4 years. Atiku himself, almost 20 years ago, he was vice president in 1999. It is now he's being put forward by his party. So people should remember that there is always another day. If you lose at the Supreme Court, that's the Appellate Court, go and pray and appeal to God. You cannot turn the hand of the judicial clock. It has ruled, and it is definitive, and it is final.
Okay, but do you see that as looking at internal democracy, which seem to be lacking? What do you have to say in that respect for political parties?
Political backing, there has to be rule of law. And the rule of law is not like God giving the 10 commandments to people. It has to be given and interpreted by people. So when the Supreme Court has spoken, sentiments have no place in law.
Yes.
It has been established in many Supreme Court cases. I remember Ejudem and Hanyere in 1977 by the case of Justice Dudu Obaseki. He enunciated that sentiments have no place in law. We should not be sentimental. Before judgment is given, it is given on the preponderance of evidence. And as I said, Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, you don't call witness to come and retestify. The judgment was studied, and when there's a lacuna on it, it will facilitate the judgment. So let us be law-abiding. We are not yet a tyranny. We are not a military regime. We are a constitutional democracy, and the law is supreme. So let it be.
All right, your bite on that, Osage Godsent, and your expectations on the ruling party.
Let me begin by, I want to praise the judge that took that ruling, that said that to the world, you know, because the reason why I had to give it to the judge,
yes,
is because we are in Nigeria. We know how politics in play here. You know, almost every sector of this country is influenced by the superpowers. You know, for a judge to be able to be in his right senses and give his judgment supporting that had already been taken by the High Court, you know, I think we must give kudos both to the judiciary and to the judge in question. You know, but again, like you asked, it doesn't tell well of our internal democracy, because this struggle has been on since May. You know, first of all, after the High Court gave its ruling, the ruling party, some people were not satisfied. They went ahead, they appealed, to the Court of Appeal before the Supreme Court now finally upheld that particular ruling by the High Court. You know, what the message we send to the world is what should concern us most. Because, like I said before, all over the country, across the 2 major political parties we have, there seems to be a struggle for supremacy, a struggle for who owns the structure. And that is not the ideal of internal democracy. Okay, just look at what happened in Zamfara, for example. You know, where one of the major parties lost the chance to file in candidates. You know, but according to INEC, not by the court yet. The point is that we keep on seeing a situation in our internal democracy that make the average citizens of this country, including myself, wonder if people cannot hold their own as well and govern their own party according to their own bylaws, then how can they hold the country? How can they govern the country with respect to the rule of law and the constitutional provision? You know, and that calls for a lot of questioning, you know, because the current battle that is going on across board, across the different political parties, is the battle for structure. is the battle for who is the Lord here. It's the battle for who owns this party.
That's what politics is all about.
Come on, no, listen. I know politics is a game of
looking at power,
but,
yes.
But not a game of over desperation.
Okay, desperation shouldn't be
of the interest of the populace, of the people.
Yes.
You know, we have to spell it out. We know there is always this tussle in politics, but what went wrong with the Nigeria setting is that we can do anything, even go against the rule of law, to have our way.
That's desperation.
That is desperation, and that's what we are talking about. You know, because we've seen it happen again and again. The River State is not the only issue. We've been reading it on the papers and on the news. You know, it's been one issue to the other. You know, it's about time we begin to let our leaders know that we are watching, and for the electorate, we should begin to define how we vote people into elective offices, because there are a lot of people that have been indicted in the Rivers case. You know, there are factions. You know, some people are blaming Amici and is it Abe or something. You know, Abe is saying that the president government Winke warned me before. You know, there's a whole lot of confusion about the whole thing. The last time, was it the High Court that gave the ruling? You remember Tog? It was Tog that went to the premises. You know, they aroused everybody, and even the judiciary premises, which is supposed to be sacred, you know, was harassed by Togri. You know, so it calls for a lot of questions. It shows that our internal democracy is not working, because the internal democracy is driven by the principle of collective agreement.
Okay.
You know, it ought to be a situation where everybody is given a fair play. Okay, not some people being marginalized. I think that is the bedrock of most of the escalated crises in the current political parties in Nigeria.
Okay.
You know, some people feel they are not taken along in decision-making process. There are allegations, for example, that when you conduct election in a state and the person that is declared winner is not the same. Sometimes there have been allegations in 2-3 states like that at the end of the day another name is submitted.
Yes.
And that is terrible. You know, it's only in Nigeria you see things that are awful. You know, extremely awful. You know, that you can't relate to it. You can't connect. Someone wins an election in a state setting, and the next time the name is coming from Abuja is another name that is published. These are some of the grievances that some of them are talking about. And that doesn't talk well of our internal democracy.
Thank you. Okay, Salvation, your bite on this, the whole judgment given by Supreme Court, and your expectations for political parties in line with internal democracy.
All right. First and foremost, I want to tell APC, I want to remind them that they are no longer opposition. They are now the ruling party. You know, sometimes you can stay so long as an opposition party. When you have become the ruling party, you may need to be reminded from time to time that you are no longer the opposition. Sometimes I used to think that, was APC ready? Do they have the structure for as big as they are becoming?
Well, are you saying that this is restricted to APC, or other political parties too are involved? Because if you spell out internal democracy, you find it lacking in most of these political parties.
Yes, but where we have this case now is in APC, and APC is the ruling party now, and they are supposed to lead by example. What I'm trying to say is that, for example, when you look at their primaries, you see a lot of parallel congresses, and many aggrieved members. APC needs to go back to the drawing board. I think what is happening in APC is this. A lot of politicians have seen that that's where the meat is. So everybody is so desperate to come in. When APC was opposition, you won't see many of this. Because then, you know, the politicians are this set of people. One thing about Nigerian politicians is they don't care the name of a party. What they care is where is the cake being shared now. So I think where politicians are looking at the cake being shared now, where they see where is juice now is APC. So everybody is going there. So APC. That's
why defections are even.
That is why you are seeing all that, because to them now that is where the national cake is. So APC needs to go back to the drawing board.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Let's take your.
How do you tally that with APC presidential primaries? There was only one candidate. Okay. PDP presidential candidate, there were 12 people. How do you? They are in opposition. Why did they gravitate to rush for power? Because they are not. I'm not sure they are sharing any cake in PDP, but 11 people contested to be presidents. So what have you to say to that?
Well, looking at quest for power, such is expected.
Even from opposition,
looking at quest for power, such is expected.
And yet 11 of them contested.
No, the contesting that people are contesting is not, that is called democracy.
Okay.
But
when more people are contesting in
and you are not seeing
it's not
fights.
democracy.
No, when there are fights.
Okay. Let's look at it.
The fight.
But you were saying that people are rushing because
PDP,
APC is ruling.
Okay.
PDP is not in government.
Yeah.
But 11 people came out.
I am not supporting PDP.
No, but you look at it now.
PDP.
Okay, Adam Saliu, thank you, Salvation. Thank you, Salvation. Adam Saliu, let's say your viewpoint, because all of this is happening because we've been having this very virtue, internal democracy.
Yeah.
How do we make it work?
The
Even in APC, because that's exactly what is bringing up this issue.
2010 provides three methods: consensus, direct primary, indirect primary. These are the three enunciated in 2010 Electoral Act, and any of them is viable. If there is consensus ad idem, all the parties agree, no problem. Direct primaries, anybody who is a card-carrying member, I've not seen your party card. I don't know which card.
He's a public affairs analyst.
You are free to go and elect a representative. But the indirect one, past officers, ward chairmen, delegates, those were the ones to vote. We have seen that it is easier to manipulate the smaller number. If you are delegates, if you are indirect, you can manipulate. But for direct primaries, an omnibus one, you call on everybody to come and vote. It's not easy to have that. So, for internal democracy, anyone is chosen. Yeah. And the court is there as the last arbiter of the common man. That is why the signal is blindfolded. Anybody who feels agree should go to court. We have instances of people here who lost gubernatorial election. They went to court and they reclaimed this. We have instances of when somebody won primary, his name was not submitted. They submitted another name. And the person now, the court now, upheld the petitioner because the ballot paper itself does not bear the name or picture of anybody. It bears the name of the party. So anybody is to represent the party. So if a wrong person was submitted, in the long run, after judgment, they can bring the right person to go and represent the party because the name of the party of the person was not the one in the ballot paper. So the court is always there as the civilized way and last arbiter of the common man.
Okay, but from all of this, how it has played out, can you say that the judiciary is becoming more independent?
The judiciary has given, governors have been removed from office. People who were impersonated, their names were not the bona fide ones sent out, they have been removed. There are many, but a plethora of cases. So we have confidence in the judiciary. And even the new Chief Justice of the Federation has even sacked, dismissed, and removed some people from office. They equally have their modus operandi. Those who fall below action are equally removed with opprobrium and disgrace. And,
Thank you. I think that's your final words on this.
Yes,
or like we are not in the court, but can I say that's your final submission?
That's my final submission.
All right, to second consent, your final words on this as it regards the independence of the judiciary.
All right. Let me begin by saying that
in 30 seconds.
Okay.
You are timed.
Okay. The reason why APC is coming to the front burner is because this was the same escalated crisis that destroyed PDP.
No,
listen.
You just have to take that away because we don't have any party here that has been destroyed. If it's destroyed, then why do we have the party in existence?
Destroyed PDP.
No. That is your opinion.
Right.
I want you to retract that.
No, I want you to retract that,
please.
Because the truth is that the day rebuilding collapse is it's systematic. Destructions are systematic. Okay. If I say to the APC members that this was the same crisis that destroyed a certain party, is any man of wisdom will learn from that? We are not saying that there are no party conflict and crisis. It's everywhere. It's in PDP, it's in YPP, what have you.
But we do not have records of any party being destroyed. That is exactly what I want to establish.
All right, fine. We don't have record of any party being destroyed. But this when crisis, I was talking about the need to manage internal party conflict and crisis.
Okay.
Because when it is not managed, it becomes something else. The party becomes weakened. Let me use that grammar instead of destroyed. Becomes weakened. Its power becomes weakened. You know, I think these are played out before with a certain political party, PDP to be precise, and I think that's what is playing out now. Then lastly, what we are seeing now in the different parties' internal crisis is a failure of leadership. I really want to say to the electorate out there, this coming election, we need to be on our guard. We need to be watchful. We need to deliberately choose our leaders.
I think that aside, the aspect of political ideology is also key.
Which the party manifesto.
Yes,
the party manifesto is key. But where you have the party men that does not even respect their own ideology and manifesto, it becomes an issue. That is what we are talking about.
Okay, thank you.
We have a situation, if you can successfully manage the conflict in your own party, how can you manage a nation and a state?
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Osage God sent Erum, sir. It's been awesome having you.
Thank you.
I do hope you have a beautiful day ahead.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Adam Saliu, for coming here as a custodian of the law. And we do hope you have more grip in keeping the law and ensuring that we see more of you in terms of throwing more light on this.
Guidance apart from the Constitution.
All right. And thank you, Salvation. As the name implies, we just hope that salvation will come to. All right. Thank you. Well, this is where we call it a wrap on the discussion. It's been awesome, and we've taken 2 capsules. We treated the aspect of the impeachment of the Deputy Speaker, which was witnessed yesterday, and of course the decision of the Supreme Court on the conduct of Rivers APC primaries. Well, this is what we call it a wrap on this. Shortly, we'll bring you insurance segment. It's the TMI.
Good morning, viewers and listeners. Welcome to the insurance segment. I have in the studio our regular guest, Mrs. Omenago Odia and Pastor Datimo Jokojo. Good welcome.
Good morning, viewers, and thank you again for spending your valuable time with us. We appreciate all of you.
Good morning, viewers. It's good to be here again.
We'll take our quote for the week, and the quote says, "No candle loses its light while lighting another candle. So never stop sharing and helping others because it makes life more meaningful. The business of insurance is like candle, lightening other candles." Pastor Datimo Jokojo.
You know, this life we are in, no man is an island.
So,
You know, you need to light up the next person, pass on to the next generation. Somebody did something for us, that's why we're here today. Either our parents, our teachers. So in the case you just mentioned, the quote you just gave us, we must keep lighting other people. You will not go out. The truth about the matter, when you teach somebody something, you will remember it more. That's a secret. Anything you teach people, you will not forget it.
Okay.
So you get better for helping others.
Mrs. Odia.
and even God shows us an example in lighting others. Before he created man, he was all alone, and he just said, I want to be generous. I want to give life to other people.
Yeah.
And for giving life to other people, he is happier, and we're also happy.
Yeah.
So the candle, if it doesn't give out light, it's really useless, of no use.
Exactly.
So as long as we keep touching the lives of other people, doing things for others, we're happy, and life gets to have greater meaning. So do something for someone today.
Yeah.
You could also use insurance to do that for your family.
No, principally, insurance is the only way out you can use to support other people. Now, we are really concerned about the prediction of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency that stated there will be heavy rainfall and there will be windstorm. And in that regards, we are at this point going to really say we sympathize with those who lost their property, who had damage to their property, who have had to be displaced from their places where they reside or where their businesses function. They are no more having it easy. Just some few days ago, we had the issue of destruction to areas. The thunderstorm damage to areas, especially in Benin City, was enormous. And we want to say from the insurance segment here, we sympathize with all those who have actually lost their property, who are now finding money to want to rebuild such properties. It is actually not easy. And this is one of the issues that relates to saying that there is an SOS to government. Please come to our rescue. We at the insurance segment here, we seriously sympathize. But we'd like to emphasize here that the federal government signed into law on the 27th of May 2003, the Insurance Act. And specifically, it dealt so much on the issue of fire and special perils. And so, Pastor Datimo Jokojo, Mrs. Omenogo, this is actually a dedicated program, especially when we see the suffering of our people. And then we like to also ask some questions, as it were. But the main point of that, the highlight of the Insurance Act that was passed should be properly understood, so that there will also be an application. But first, it is important to say whether we really sympathize with them. You can see what is on the screen. A lot of persons' documents, their properties, the structures are actually out of place. And it's a big pain. This is, in fact, what we call fire waste in insurance. The properties that are not insured are regarded as fire waste. The psychological effect, the wastage in terms of what will now be used, what money you are supposed to use to feed, to do some other thing, will now be turned around to fixing such property. Pastor Datimo Joko, just start from that.
Yeah, it's very painful when you see such loss, what people are going through. Some will have to evacuate their places, look for homes, look for shelter, and we truly sympathize with those who have suffered such damages. And just the reason why we are here is to show people that there is light. You know, insurance is a way of, you know, taking care of all these things so that it can lessen the burden. There's hope in insurance, and I think that's what people shouldn't forget. Insurance provides hope, provides peace of mind. And I was sleeping on, I woke up to pray. After prayer, I was just resting on Saturday. Somebody woke me up again and said, my car had an accident. I said, okay, don't worry, I'll be there tomorrow. That's on Monday. I was there because he had rest. I have insurance. So such people, their burdens will be alleviated if they had done something about it. That's... Yeah,
Mrs. Odia, let's hear your voice.
Well, I want to say our hearts go out to all those who have suffered loss in one way or the other. Our hearts are really with you. And we say we share this time of pain and loss. But also by this, also saying that insurance is saying that insurance cannot prevent the windstorm or the thunderstorm from happening.
Yeah.
But what it can do is that it can make a provision so that when it happens, you don't carry all of the burden on you. Yeah. If the roof has gone off, insurance will say, don't worry, like he said to the person who called him the other night, don't worry, we'll take care of that problem. So insurance is to make sure that when losses like this happen, you have something to, a shoulder to lean on. That will say, don't worry, this will be taken care of. And so we're saying, please take insurance seriously. And it's only when you try us out, like they say, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. Try us out and then you provide some succor.
Yeah, so it's important we highlight the major areas that this Insurance Act we are talking about relating to fire and special perils. Section 64(1) says no person shall cause to be constructed any building of more than 2 floors without insuring with a registered insurer is liability in respect of construction risks caused by his negligence or negligence of his servants, agents, or consultants, which may result in bodily injury or loss of life to property or any workman on the site or any member of the public. Then section 64(2) says the duty to insure under subsection 1 of this section shall arise when a building is under construction. So you can imagine a situation that there is even provision for building under construction. Now, there is also a provision for building that is tagged public building. Section 65(1) says, every public building shall be insured with a registered insurer against the hazard of collapse, fire, earthquake, storm, and flood. Now, if we ask this question, all the mention we have here, is it out of place?
At all.
Windstorm, earthquake, collapse, fire, flood.
You know,
these things are mentioned.
you know, Sir BJ, I always mention here, you know, that insurance is a gift from God. He saw ahead that there will be issues like this, and he can't stop it, you know, because things have to flow. There are times and there are seasons. You know, so imagine what people suffered over the weekend and are still going to suffer. Currently, in many parts of Bayelsa, even this state and some other places, water has overtaken communities. My community in Bayelsa was overtaken by water. That's flood.
Yeah.
You know, so these things will always happen. Go to America, go to Asia. I was watching CNN yesterday. I saw they are preparing for another massive storm. So they take care of insurance. And, you know, people need to know that insurance is not even expensive. It's so cheap compared to the damage, to the loss you will suffer. You know, it's a very simple way to ensure you have peace of mind. We don't pray. Nobody wants it to happen, but it happens. Yes, yes.
Now, what will be the succor to people like this who had suffered such damage? Mrs. Hodia, the government will come out and give them money?
Well, even if they do, of course, there will be a long stretch of time. Usually, you know, government bureaucracy, as it were, and even what they will bring will be one little thing that would
especially
really
in this type of election, people are politicking. Nobody has
yeah, we are talking about the issue of minimum wage that has not been met. Such issues are there. And you see, to divert again to say, well, somebody has come. Now, it is a quiet way to say at this end here that there is a provision for you to take an insurance cover.
Yeah.
And taking an insurance cover is the cure to this issue of please come to our rescue. We are suffering, the building has been damaged, and we are saying at this end here that government can also partner with the insurance industry. The state government, through the exercise of trying to consult, can have members of the public, if the House of Assembly will pass into law, let it be a compulsory situation. So it's a time like this, you can even come around and say, insurance segment, you saw the windstorm damage that took place in Benin. Have you gone there to assess? Are you not paying them? Because you are the one who are telling the story that insurance will pay.
Yeah.
I think this is a good ground. Yeah. So outside the point of this, what's the advice for members of the public as regards what they should do?
We shouldn't assume that the people who suffered didn't have insurance. Some may have. They can reach out if they have issues with making claims. Then we need to call on people, especially when you put up a very new structure, you have a lot of things. Look for an insurance agent that will help you provide the necessary cover.
This is the last word before we go as a form of advice to...
Be proactive before the next risk happens. Do something to protect yourself, your business, and your assets.
Well, the point actually is that our cry will go nowhere, even as we sympathize with those persons who have suffered this loss. The solution to having this is have an insurance cover. It is quite cheap. Yes. For a value of 1 million naira, you will not pay more than 5,000 naira to have your property secured. If you are not the owner of that building, the property inside belongs to you. You have an interest. You can insure that particular one. The owner of the building will insure his building because it doesn't really belong to you. Well, thank you, and God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining me at the concluding part of TMI Tuesday edition. And I'm Philip Omo-Gupon, and I'm saying, be law abiding, have a beautiful day, and be good to you. Goodbye.